Hey, this is Jason from National Camera Exchange. In this tutorial, we're going to look at the presence area of the basic panel in the Develop module of Lightroom. And as you can see here, we've got a few different options: clarity, vibrance, and saturation. And clarity is similar to contrast, but a little more fine-tuned. And we talked about contrast in one of the earlier tutorials. And contrast, if you remember, adjusts kind of the overall image. It takes and brightens up all the brighter areas of the image and darkens all the darker areas of the image. Clarity, on the other hand, is more fine-tuned, and it micro adjusts kind of the middle areas of the image. So the mid-tones, it targets those. But you have to be a little gentle with your usage of clarity because it quickly starts to look really gritty as I go up into some of these higher end values. And if that's something you're looking for, this is a great place to get it, but you just have to be gentle about your usage and aware that it does that. The other thing then, if you want more of a softer image, you can also drop your clarity and you can see it getting really soft. Definitely probably wouldn't ever or normally use it quite that low, but in this case we're going to leave it just up a little bit here, and then we'll look at vibrance and saturation. The difference between these two is similar to the difference between clarity and contrast, and where contrast adjusts everything, so does saturation. Saturation adjusts all the colors in the image, and it raises the saturation in all of those, or lowers the saturation. So here you can see as I adjust this, all the colors in the image are becoming more saturated. The blues in my skies, the greens in the trees, the skin tones, and if I go up here, you can see that, let's see here, you can see that my skin tones have also become a little ruddy and gaining a lot of saturation in them. And you can also see back here, as the saturation values are raised in all the different colors, the greens and the yellows that are in these trees, I'm losing, I feel like, a little bit of detail back there. So normally I don't want to go quite that far with saturation. So again, if you want to bring saturation all the way back to 0, you can double click on saturation here and it brings that to 0. So the other option is vibrance, and like clarity, vibrance targets more of kind of the middle values or more of the undersaturated areas of the image. So vibrance takes the areas that aren't already as saturated as other colors or other areas of the image, and it raises the saturation there. And the other neat thing about vibrance is that it also prioritizes skin tones and kind of saves skin tones. So you're not gaining quite as much of the saturation in the skin tones of the image. So though the rest of the image is gaining some saturation, if you look at the skin tones here, I'm not getting quite as much saturation in those. In fact, if we look at this here, this is where I started. On the after here is what I was just doing, and the before I actually had already done the saturation here. And if you look into this comparison here, you can see that I'm gaining too much reds in his skin here, and the skin stays more natural on the vibrance. So this is 70 saturation on the left, and this is 70 vibrance on the right, and you can see how much of a difference it makes in the skin tones. And the basketball, you can see that's kind of part of those skin tone values are oranges. So not quite as much of a difference in this face here, but it's still there. You can see that I've got more red when I do the saturation. And then here in these trees as well, you can see that I feel like on the vibrance area here, I feel like there's a little bit more detail on this area than on this area, as I kind of don't even out all those saturation levels. So that's what you have here in the presence panel in Lightroom, or the presence area of the basic tab. Thanks for watching. For more tutorials, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments below what other tutorials you'd like to see. Until next time, I'm Jason with National Camera Exchange.